Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Harmonious Blacksmith. This is episode 25 of my series, and it is part 2 of a very important interview with my good friend ZLEE. I hope you enjoyed part 1 last time, and you will certainly enjoy part 2. Without further ado, let's have a conversation with ZLEE. Enjoy. So my next question to you would be one that might not be expected, which is, do you feel that music theory has limited your creativity? And if so, did you have to find a way to push past that? So, like, in other words, once you had the knowledge, does it change the way you think about music forever? Like, you can't go back. Does it limit your creativity in any way? You can kind of comment on that however you want, really.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's limited my creativity in general, and I think that's because I came to it from a place of creative hunger. But that's, and I'm not saying that was the right way. I just think that's one reason for me that, I needed it in order to express myself further. And it's not like
so it was basically the exact opposite.
Kind of the exact opposite. But one thing that I have found that's that does happen sometimes is that I will find a concept that I get excited about and a little obsessed with, and I try to make something work using it. And I think key changes are a really good and simple example of that. I hear people say, I was
just about to ask.
Right, I want there to be a key change in this song, that's something people strive for. And I recently saw a chart that was key changes in songs, going back over the last 50 years, the vast majority of songs on the radio had a key change in it, and now that's not true anymore. And so I think that was an example of one.
Funny.
Right? I don't know why that's true, or I guess it's just fallen out of favor or something, or why do you think so?
Honestly, I really think it's because of the music industry itself, the entertainment industry. Everything has to be simplified and simplified and simplified. Yeah. Basically, they're trying to shorten things, make them more vanilla, make them simple, and just kind of reproduce what worked in the past.
Yeah.
That's all they're trying to do. And a key change is something that is unexpected, that takes the ear to another place. So the more time that's gone by, they don't want to do that. It's deemed as, it's kind of weird in their mind.
It's not as palatable or something, because coming to it through a creative space was how I got to theory. It really fuels me more so than it drains me. So theory really opens doors for my creativity rather than the other way around.
That's wonderful.
But I think that I do get obsessed at times with in trying to incorporate a musically interesting concept, right? Saying I want to change the key in this song, just because I want to try it. And that's often when I find myself it's almost like I'm trying to put the square peg in the round hole a little bit. That's cool, but it's, I'm just, what's the saying? If you treat every tool like a hammer, then everything is a nail. I can't remember, but it's
something like that.
I'm not solving the right problem, right? And so that to me is when theory isn't very useful, is I'm just trying to do it for the sake of doing it. So that to me is the only time I think that it would limit my creativity. So I guess my advice would be use it when it's useful. It's about how can it serve what you're doing? Ultimately, that's the whole value of music theory, I think, to me.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. And I do think there is some value, especially when you're first learning music theory. Kind of, you use the tool metaphor. Well, if you have a toolbox for the first time and you don't know what anything does, at some point you're going to pull it all out and you're going to bang around and figure out what all of it does. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about. I think there's value in that. The idea that you use the example of a key change, which I like, because what does a key change do in music? It takes your adventure to a place you didn't expect. That's what a key change does.
Yep. And I think coming to a song and saying, "Oh, well, I should use a key change so that I can accomplish that," like maybe there's other ways to accomplish that. And that's when I think it would, I wouldn't say it's limited my creativity. I think my my partial knowledge of music theory often is more of what limits my creativity, because the key change in that moment wouldn't be the only tool in my toolbox to gain something unexpected or new or different from a song. So, yeah.
Oh, that's really good. So music theory for the sake of music theory or just for the sake of exercise is one thing, but when you really want to put it into your passion, what you're doing with your songwriting or your performing, that should hopefully be a whole different realm.
Yeah, I love that.
Basically what you're saying.
Totally.
Okay, so having given all that great advice that you just gave to people out there that might be looking to use some music theory going forward in the future, what would you say would be the most important concept in music theory in the beginning?
Oh, man, that's a hard one. In the beginning,
like, in other words, what is the gateway to get off and running with music theory? Like, I think a lot of it, the intimidation is like, it's kind of its own language and world. It's its own conceptual world. And I think a lot of people are intimidated by the fact that it's all this stuff and they just don't know how to start the journey.
Yeah. I mean, I think general like literacy of scales and understanding the language is really hard. And that's usually, I think, where the chapter 1 of any theory book is like, hey, you need to understand
scales,
right? Like, you need to understand scales and sharps and flats. And so, like, it makes sense to get into that way. Like, it's obviously the building block that things get built on top of. But I think, to me, and like adult education is kind of my job. I do it in a corporate setting, but like one of the things I think of is what is going to grab you? What's the sticky thing? And I think one of the real sticky concepts for someone who doesn't know anything about theory and you know, you want to help them understand how it's like meaningful, kind of going back to the whole intervals thing, right? Like, you know, right? And like helping them understand, like, hey, that's literally, you know, that interval right there means something, and it means something else when you hear it in the context of your favorite science fiction movie, right? And so, I think that to me is a good one. It's a good starting place. It may not be like the most effective starting place for the education side of things, but I think that, like, that's one to me that's real grabby. It gets people's attention.
I like that. So basically, my friend ZLEE here, he's telling you scales are the building blocks, and that will, of course, be in accordance with everything I've been talking about in my podcast. So that's probably good. It's probably good that we agree on that. And the next thing for you, which I really love, is that you mentioned this is the second time you've mentioned intervals, which is great. So again, people out there, ear training is so important. I will have more episodes on ear training coming up, by the way. I've done a couple if you want to go back and check them out. But I will have more in the near future because it is really that important. And again, I'll remind you, I didn't have the greatest ear or the natural ear. I did have to go through the ear training, and I went through it with much passion and, just kind of awe of the whole thing. And I really just humbled myself and took it all in. And it helped me take my musicianship to a level that I never dreamed of. And I always want to remind people that, like, I'm playing music now that I thought was impossible before. And a lot of that is, yes, hard work and technique, and I am a trained musician, but at the same time, putting the head space to it, the music theory and the concepts and things really allowed me to take things to a really high level.
I love what you just said, Kevin. If I can add to that real quick, I was just going to say that, like,
yes, sir.
I love the way you just framed that, and that's that, like, this world of music and music theories, it's like an absolute lifetime of information and places to explore. Like, I just think there's so many ways to constantly be improving and thinking and learning that even though it's just these 7 or 8 notes, like there is so much, if you continue to pour yourself into it, right? Like it gives back. It's
absolutely,
it's one of those, what you get what you give, in terms of time spent on theory.
That's right. All right, Mr. ZLEE, you've given us a lot of good stuff so far. My next question to you would be, how do you use music theory to intentionally evoke a certain emotion in a composition or even a performance?
Oh, man. So I have released 3 different albums at this point. I'm actually about to roll out a 4th one, and they're all kind of different.
There you go.
See,
you are prolific.
I am prolific. I am, if nothing else, I am generating a lot of content over here. But
yes, you are.
But yeah, the first 2 albums I really did like. It's very singer-songwriter-y, and the 3rd one is called "It Was Never What You Thought," and that one is very, very electronically produced. Like, there's actually only one song that has any guitar on it at all. For the most part, it's done on a keyboard in my office, and so I think it was only when I really sat down in front of a piano keyboard, for me personally, because I don't think I have enough guitar chops to really make it happen. And through the very like slow and thoughtful process of composing on my computer, was I able to kind of bring enough theory into the process to really get a real dynamic sort of palette. And so, for example, there's one song on there that I had a lot of fun making. It's called "Entertaining Ideas," and that's literally what I was doing. And so, speaking of theory, right, it was like a lot of these sort of learnings,
concepts,
bouncing around in my head and trying to kind of bring them to life. But it's through composed. And I'm not sure if that's language that you would use, Kevin. I mean, the way I understand that word, meaning that the sections of the song really don't repeat. So it kind of goes from the A section to the B to the C to the D. Is that how you would describe it?
Yep. That is exactly what through composed is.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like a G sharp minor, C sharp minor, E major, F sharp major, and A major. So I think that G sharp minor should have been diminished, but I need to go back and listen to more Harmonious Blacksmith to keep myself straight. Anyway, the count of it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Right?
No, you're doing pretty good,
Thank
actually.
you.
I mean, it sounds like mostly A, but honestly, it could just be, I mean, it sounds like a mode of A, and that's fine.
And maybe that G sharp minor is a borrowed chord or something, but yeah, in my mind, it's like a 7, 3, 5, 6, 1. But
in A, basically.
In A, yeah. So starting on a 7's pretty weird. But then the rhythm of it is like there's a count to it that's a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And it repeats in this really weird way, but I'm playing it in a 4/4 time signature. So it was this really specific tension that it was holding. And I think starting on the 7,
like polyrhythms.
Yeah, weird polyrhythms and weird tensions from it starting on the 7. So like, you asked about evoking emotion. I liked it. I wanted it to feel like it was going to move somewhere. And so that's one where I really sat down and said, okay, well, if I'm ending on the 1, that's A major, and how can I shift that into this bass line? And I'm doing a lot rhythmically to kind of get it to a place. So that's one, if I were to say, hey, go listen to some ZLEE and listen to something kind of interesting, that one does a lot to like move. It changes time signatures. I probably changes keys a time or two. I'm not doing something always super intentional. I think there's this little dance that we do when we start to learn about theory and learn the academics of a particular subject, where like some of it is purposeful and some of it is happy accidents. And so this was a good one where I was doing a little bit of both, a little bit of happy accidents, and then I'd get to a place and like, well, what could I do here? And I had just enough theory in my pocket to kind of drive it to that next point. But yeah, so I hopefully your listeners will check out that song. That's one that's kind of fun for me to have played with.
Yeah, absolutely. I will definitely have them check that out. And I want to comment on that because I do always tell students of mine all the time, I'm like, no matter how much conceptual stuff or technique or how much you're reading about or watching or listening to, at some point you have to just treat your instrument like you're a kid with a toy.
Yeah.
and you kind of, and that's what you're talking about happy accidents. I like the way you put that, because happy accidents happen when you treat your instrument like a toy. But the beauty of what you're talking about is you really benefit the most from bringing as much to the table as possible, I would think.
Yeah.
In other words, I think there's a lot of people out there that have an idea that you're going to ruin the purity of your music if you overthink it with music theory. I think there's a lot of people out there that subscribe to that and believe that that's true, and that's why this conversation is really important to me and to people that are listening, because I personally, and it sounds like you're in accordance, which is like we disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I have fully integrated music theory into what I've done, and it has only just made my musicianship and my music career go through the roof. I mean, it's only done wonderful things. I mean, this is all really important to people who are developing in music and know of music theory and are deciding whether it's important to them or not. I can give a quick anecdote for me. I mean, yes, I've been a professional musician for a while, and I'm really kind of fading into more of just a music educator these days. But I still want to be able to go to a concert and turn off the teacher hat, turn off the music theory analysis hat,
Totally.
and be able to just close my eyes and enjoy music, right? So can you give our listeners any insight into how that works for you? Like when you are like, okay, I need to pull out my music theory toolbox for this, it's important. Yeah. And then other times when you might say, you know what, let's put that box down for now and just kind of close our eyes and be free. Can you give us some words on that?
I love that. And, I go to a lot of concerts. I'm sure a lot of you guys listening do. And concerts are one of the big ways that I enjoy music. I love live music. I've got just a wall of concert posters around me. Super excited to go see David Byrne in concert here in about 2 months in Atlanta.
Nice.
So I love live music. And David Byrne's maybe a really good example of this, right? So, he as a performer is energy, and it's he puts on a spectacle, and that's always been part of his performance art, and it's enjoyable, and it's interesting, and it's thought provoking, and it's meant to be this sort of a little bit jarring, and is he doing musically complicated things? Not always, right? Sometimes,
sure,
really simple stuff. Now, that's where I say to myself, I like to show up and enjoy the vibes. I really enjoy the energy of a musician like that. There's a bunch. I listen to a lot of indie rock type stuff, and as y'all can probably tell from listening to my music, but that's kind of part of the enjoyment for me is just the feelings. And now there comes to a point though when I hear something. It's usually that for me where I will personally hear something and I'll say, that was really interesting. Like that was an interesting change. That was an interesting rhythm. They resolve to the one? I don't think they resolved that. Or did they change keys? And you feel it, and then you start thinking about it. That to me is usually how I come to it. Now that's probably because I listen to a lot of rock music, and like that's my MO. I think if you are, more of a classical listener or something like that, like you might have a tendency to come and listen to those compositions and performances through more of the ear of that. I don't know. I mean, you can speak to that better than me, but for me, it's I activate the theory in my brain when I hear something that is that needs me to, and that's why I think having that just enough theory in my pocket now allows me to like enjoy music better. So one of the bands that you and I listened to, growing up was the band Fish, and we really enjoyed like musically what those guys do. And but there were other times when they were just fun, and it's like they're not doing anything big.
Sure.
But I love now being able to listen to some of their stuff, for example, or other bands that have instrumentally robust capabilities, jazz musicians and stuff like that. And it's not just that it creates the vibe, but you can hear why they created the vibe and how they created the vibe. And so that's where, to me, there's a real nice balance between experiencing music as just someone who's there bobbing your head, but also the kind of intellectual exercise of it. Like it's double the enjoyment if you know enough theory to kind of know what they're doing. Does that make sense?
Awesome. Wow. Yeah, that was a fantastic response. And I mean, people, I think, have varying degrees of that. And that's why I'm always curious to ask individuals about it. Because I think, there's certain people out there that, just would consider themselves overthinkers or OCD thinkers.
Yep.
I am about a lot of stuff, admittedly, but I always knew that I wanted, when I was a music theory student, I might have been thinking about it more live. But I think as I got older, you separate the two things. But I'm really interested in what you were saying earlier about like the theory mind activates when you hear something that's interesting or unique, something that you're curious about how it came to be, about how they were able to evoke an emotion this way or that, or make music go in a certain direction, kind of like a roller coaster ride going up and down hills through a loop or something. And you kind of just want to know how that's constructed and how it's put together. And so really it becomes a curiosity, right? And then let's say something like that happens at a concert, you go home and explore it, and then all of a sudden you have hopefully another little sharpened tool in your box.
Well, I love the way you said that, and something just popped in my head. It's like the more you spend time on this, I think people would assume, and maybe this is just my take, right? My hot take on music theory is I don't always feel like I've got more answers the more I study or learn about theory. But what I do usually have are better questions, and like it helps me really enjoy music. So I'll experience something like you said in a concert and be like, why was that so cool? And then I'll go back and, the internet can give you anything now. And hey, what happens at the 3-minute mark in this song? And, ChatGPT can suddenly tell me, oh, well, they went from this to this to this to this. And I'm like, aha, now I understand. So I know that they accomplished it by doing something. I kind of can't quite put and that's just where I am in my own. I hope that in another 10 or 20 years from now, I can hear it and I can actually name it rather than having to go Google it. But to me, knowing enough about theory helps me understand like what to like go look for, like, and then I translate that directly into my own composition. It's like, oh, well, that was a really cool effect. I wonder how I could use something like that.
Okay, so out of all the music theory concepts that you have in your toolbox now, is there a particular scale, chord progression, mode, or just anything like that you came across along the way that made you feel especially connected to it emotionally, or maybe nostalgic in a way? Maybe it evoked something from childhood, or just connected to you with some important life experience, right? So we're talking about, is there a music theory concept? Is there a song? Is there something you heard that really did that to you?
Oh, I mean, there are so many. It's funny when I think about like the emotional connection of music. I've got a lot of song examples, but I love the way you asked that, which was like, is there a particular scale or mode? And I'm like, do people have favorite modes? But I guess some people do have favorite modes, huh?
They kind of do. Right? I mean, I find that some songwriters will favor certain modes here and there.
That's interesting.
And I may be able to give some examples later, but
well, I think for me,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, that does make sense. I think for me, as far as like writing and composing goes, it's usually keys that my voice sounds the best in, and that one makes I think a lot of sense. So if any of you guys are out there, go ahead.
Hence getting the capo as well, right?
Exactly.
You slap the capo on, it helps you find your vocal range,
Absolutely.
right? So we were talking, Right. We were talking about like the function of the capo earlier because, my listeners know that I'm a guitar player and I play all my audio examples on guitar. So most of you probably know, but yeah, capo not only changes the key, but the whole reason to do that most of the time is for vocals.
Yes.
Most of the time it is for vocals.
Well, absolutely.
So that makes a lot of sense.
And it's super fun as, especially as like a new guitar player. And again, getting a capo may be like the worst advice I could ever give someone. I don't know, but it really is a fun way just to be like, oh, I'm doing something different. And oh, my voice sounds different when I sing it over this. So there's a lot of learning, I think, that happens there. To answer your question about like, I wouldn't say that I necessarily have like a mode in my mind or a scale or chord progression in my mind. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this, but one that I really am I'm interested in why I feel this way when I hear it are songs. And David Byrne's a great example, if I didn't already say this, where he writes a lot of songs that are in all major chords. So like he might have an A, C, G, and E major all in like that may be the whole song. Why do I like that, Kevin? Why is that appealing to my ear?
Right. So in other words, you asked the question right away, like, okay, these chords don't necessarily exist together in a key like we would normally know in music theory, but why is it that we still like the way they sound and that it's interesting? So you kind of go down a rabbit hole with that.
Absolutely.
Right?
What do you call it whenever you have a bunch of chords that are all in major? I mean, like I said, A, C, G, and E. I mean, I don't even know. What does that even mean to you? I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, basically in that situation, usually what it is that they're using what we would call borrowed chords from either the parallel minor or a relative key or a closely related key. So in other words, you're pulling in chords that weren't necessarily in the key, but you might have one little note chromatically altered in that chord.
Yes.
To make, because as you know, the difference between major and minor is just a half step difference in the middle note of the triad. So you can just alter that one middle note by a half step, and all of a sudden you have a major chord, and it's kind of just a chromatic move. It's kind of a borrow chord move.
Yeah, spoken like the blacksmith. I mean, only that was a real harmonious blacksmith answer. So thank you for that. I think
we try,
and I'm going a little bit full circle in this, but I think for me, rather than saying musically or tonally, there is a key of music or anything like that I really enjoy. I would say, and this is probably coming as a drummer, it's a more rhythmic thing for me. I really, really enjoy unique rhythms in songs.
All right, Mr. ZLEE, that was a wonderful interview. I really enjoyed it, and I really think my listeners are going to enjoy it and got a lot out of it. Thank you so much for the time today, my friend. Absolutely. I'm just so glad you came on the program. And look, let's go ahead and send them off with one of your fabulous compositions. Go ahead and tell them what you would like them to hear and how they can find it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Kevin. I really appreciate the chance to join the conversation. So yeah, thank you all for listening. You can find me by searching ZLEE. Usually in all caps works best in any of your favorite streaming platforms or on YouTube. And I think Kevy's going to drop some links out there for us. But this song is off of my most recent album, It Was Never What You Thought. So thanks for listening.
Again, y'all, enjoy this tune by ZLEE. And thanks again for listening to The Harmonious Blacksmith. And as always, I look forward to continuing this music theory exploration with all of you. Enjoy ZLEE, and we will see you on the next go around.